Welcome to Karate 360. I'm Kalan Anglos.
I'm Richard Mosdell.
Hey guys, welcome to episode number 3.
The Trilogy.
Here we go. We've made it to 3. We've got the trilogy. What else do we need?
Let's get it started.
Before we get started, guys, we just want to talk a little bit about a couple things going on. So first things first, the Canadian Open.
Canada Open Karate Championships, June 3rd and 4th.
Mark it on your calendars.
That's right. It's going to be in Richmond, British Columbia, right beside Vancouver at the amazing Richmond Oval, Olympic Oval.
Yes, which is the same place that we've held the national championships here in BC.
Exactly. Fantastic arena. One side is all windows. You can see the North Shore Mountains. Unlike being in other karate venues, as we know, we're stuck in gyms.
Yeah.
This is a beautiful place, and it's going to be a fantastic experience. We are just a couple weeks away from putting all the information on karatebc.org. But just getting some amazing feedback, especially from our friends down south. Hey, you've got tournaments in Canada? Well, yes, we do. Hit the border, jump onto one of the dog sleds, and head over to Richmond.
Yeah, don't forget your hockey sticks.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, guys, don't also forget that we want to hear from you. We want your emails. We want you to contact us and get a hold of us. So where can you find us? Well, www.karate360podcast.com. That's our website. That's at karate360podcast.com. Check us out there. Also, you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, as well as YouTube at Karate360. And again, we will eventually be getting these recorded, these podcasts, so you can actually watch them on YouTube. But for now, they are up the audio with our little logo on there. And Richard, where can they find you specifically?
Me online?
Online,
Yes. Well, I'm on my Twitter at Mosdell Richard, or I think I've got the other one, Richard Mosdell J, for my Japanese Twitter account.
Ah, okay.
Absolutely. So I go back and forth. So there's this guy, he wrote this book called The Tao of Twitter.
Ah, yes, I've heard of it.
Yeah. And so actually I emailed him right when he was getting kind of popular, and I said, if you've got, if you're bilingual, do you put it all in one account? Do you separate? And at that time he said, keep 2 accounts.
Oh, okay.
So that's where you can find it, as well as our fantastic karate club here in Victoria, kenzensportskarate.com.
Yes. And I'm Kalan Anglos, at Kalan Anglos on all the social media stuff.
Well, we love our digital narcissism.
There we go. We got enough of it, that's for sure.
We're going to embrace it. Yes.
All right, guys. Well, again, this is episode 3, the Trilogy episode. Let's get started with a little bit of intro banter.
Karate 360, let's start the show. You will kick high and I will sweep low. From local to global, the thing that we love. Karate Sanrokumaru. Oh, that's working awesome.
Wow, it's coming. I like that. That's just a little jingle that, you more so than I put together, but working through it. I like it.
A mix of old drinking songs trying to channel Robin Williams, and something we can sing after karaoke as we're walking back.
Yes.
Having had much medicine on the way to the train station.
Yes.
Just something. Yep. San Rokumaru. Do you remember what it means?
360.
That's right. San Rokumaru.
Yeah. No, I love it.
Hey, so this has been a really incredible week.
It's been crazy. Yeah.
It's been crazy. I wrote this little book called Sunny Leads Volume 1.
Oh, that's right. I've heard of that.
Yes, Sunny Leads Volume 1. It's all about what it's like to go to Japan, be lost in translation. You already kind of know karate, but you don't really know how it's done over there. And Sunny is a character. The book is actually a compilation of tons of real, true stories in a fictional setting. And so I was chatting with a friend of mine just the other week. His name is Alex Frankie. Hey, Alex, I'm shouting out to you there.
Hi, Alex. I don't know you, but shouting out to you as well.
All right. So Alex is a film director. We met in Vancouver Film School. He won the 2009 New Directors Award at the Toronto Film Festival.
Ah, yes.
So he's read the book. He's read volumes 2 and 3. And so we've been going back and forth, and he said, okay, he's working on a film project he's about to go into now, but his next film project, he wants it to be about the book.
That's great.
So trying to turn the book into a movie. I think he's signed with New Line Cinema, but would have to go out and get seed money and stuff. So
sure.
To engineer backwards, from March 2018 Toronto Film Festival to try and release it then, we would have to shoot in Japan for 4 to 6 weeks in March 2018.
Great.
And then do all the lead up before there. So thousands of scripts get written and finally get in front of somebody, and maybe they'll make 1 or 2 of them. But this could have a shot. So, and Alex is fantastic guy. He loves martial arts. He used to train in karate with me when we were in Vancouver.
That's great.
So yeah.
Well, when you finally get around to the whole casting process, I hear Brad Pitt might be open.
Oh
for
yeah,
a little
Brad.
something.
He might need some alimony money.
He might need some help. Yeah, he might. I don't know. I don't know the whole situation, but there it is.
I think when I mentioned it to my wife, when I said, "Hey, did you hear that they broke up? You know, Brangelina is no more. Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie have made their going on their separate ways. Did you hear?" The first thing she had said was, "Yeah, I'm on his wait list."
And you said, well, I might be on her wait list.
Absolutely.
Funny enough, actually,
Mm-hmm.
didn't you almost meet Angelina?
I did. This was back 2011, 2012.
Right.
You know, her in her charity work ways. When I was in Tokyo, there is a United Nations University in Tokyo.
Okay.
So I'm in the Tokyo University Foreign Studies Department for Peace and Conflict Studies, and there was an email that went out, and they're like, tomorrow 3:00, you've got to be at the university. The UN University, they call it UNU, and there's going to be this really interesting presentation. We can't tell you what it is or why it is or what's happening, but you got to be there. And
That's the exact way not to get anybody there.
exactly.
Anything.
And I was teaching, and it was tough when you're working full time and teaching full time and trying to do coursework and have a family. And it's like, all right, I think I'm gonna have to skip this one, right?
Yeah.
And then right after that, she was actually in the paper saying, oh, well, she was giving a presentation and meeting people at UNU, and I could see in the picture. And then I heard from some friends, and there they are, all in the front. They got to meet her.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I missed my chance.
Darn, eh?
Could have shown her the light.
Yeah. Could have been Richard Lena. Not quite the same sound, but
Not quite the same time. But now,
yeah, you never know.
I heard that, hey, and we tie this into Karate 360. They had their kids in martial arts.
Oh, yeah, really?
Yep.
Do you know what type?
I don't know what type, but
It was probably karate.
yeah, we'll just say it's karate.
Let's say it was probably karate.
They were in karate.
Yeah. Must have been.
Kids listen to Karate 360. They got the t-shirts.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, what else happened this week for you?
Well, there have been so many people coming into the club.
Yeah.
Like before, I thought there was a lot of people who were joining the club. Now people just walk in and go, here's my sign-up form. Here's my credit card. I'm sorry, I'm kind of teaching a class. I can't really do it right now. Like, no, just take the money. Take the money. Put my child in a class.
Yeah.
I'll come back in like 2 weeks. Like, okay. So
Come back in 2 weeks. So they're leaving you.
they're just so busy. They're just busy. I'll be back next week.
Yeah.
I'll be back in 3 days.
Sure.
Which is great. And at first I thought, well, it's the Olympic announcement. We got a lot of buzz for it.
Yeah, yeah.
When I asked them, like, how'd you find out about this? They said, my friend or my cousin, I heard about you from school. We saw your van. So the word and what we're offering is really getting around. And then, yeah, this is almost like back to the early 1980s when the Karate Kid movie came out. Like
Sure.
everybody's got to get into karate.
I wasn't there, but I could imagine.
You can imagine. It's not the Jackie Chan Karate Kid movie.
No, not quite the same. Although I do get to say that I was born in the 80s. I'm an 80s child.
Lucky you.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Late 80s, but that doesn't count.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Can you remember pastels?
I do remember pastels. Yes, that's right. Among many other things, but I do remember pastels for sure.
Well, okay, you've been at school now for a couple weeks.
Yes, crazy. Just absolutely crazy. Stayed away for, I think I might have mentioned this in episode 2, but just absolutely stayed away for the first about week and a half because that's just mayhem, first week and a half of school. But yeah, I mean, it's just been absolutely crazy. One thing rolling into the next, and here we are, this weekend actually going over and starting our fitness testing on karate athletes for the BC team, and 180 athletes registered.
Unbelievable number of people.
Most that we've ever had in Karate BC.
Ever.
Crazy. Just
Ever.
crazy. I think it blows it out of the water by 50 people maybe? Just
almost
crazy.
100. Maybe.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I think people just like the way that we've flattened out the system.
Sure.
And learned a lot from the people who created their systems before.
Yeah.
So this will be the first time we actually implement a specific karate fitness test. Let me ask you a question. How are your professors liking your title?
You know what? Which title? The title of the fitness testing?
No, your professional title.
I don't think they just brush it off.
Okay,
I don't think they really care too much about that.
It is
Combat Sports Strength and Conditioning Coach. Yeah.
Combat Sports Strength and Conditioning Coach.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I don't know. They haven't really touched on it, to be honest. We have talked a little bit about naming the actual fitness testing stuff. And, of course, as we've kind of talked about off air, so to speak, they want certain things that maybe don't quite make sense in the karate world or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
Well, it's going to be very interesting to see all these athletes going forward, going through the test and giving them a reason why that they should be doing it. Oh, just fantastic.
Yeah. And I mean, right off the bat, I also want to just thank everybody that's going to be helping out ahead of time. I mean, it's going to be
all of them. All 183 are listening right now.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be big. It's going to be exciting. It's finally coming together. It seems like as it was leading up to this, there were so many little things that kind of needed to be done, and you had to tick off all these boxes. And I thought, holy smokes, I'm never going to get there. And now finally, it's like, okay, well, here we go. So. Ball's rolling.
Okay, so how many exercises are there?
Well, in terms of tests, there's 7 different tests.
7 different tests.
Yeah.
How many volunteers? How many people do we need to run the test?
So we're having 1 at each station. So we have 7 people. So 1 for each station running it.
Can you give me the quick bullet point naming of each test?
I certainly could. I can start at the top. So first we're starting flexibility tests.
Flexibility.
So we're doing the groin flexibility mostly for the kicking ability. Agility, we're looking at the T test, which is a common test that a lot of sports organizations have used. Actually, a lot of them have used the T test, so that one's great. Anaerobic capacity test, which is a shuttle test, a 300-meter shuttle test. And what's really cool about that one is that we're actually looking to make a karate-specific 300-meter shuttle. Because the standard 300-meter shuttle is a 20-meter shuttle. You run 20 meters, but of course, a karate mat is 10 meters long. So we wanted to see what the performance would be like for a 10-meter shuttle. So we're in the process of making that an actual, literature-reviewed test. So that's great. What else have we got on there? We got a balance test, the modified base test that comes straight from the National Strength and Conditioning Association. So that's a good one. We also have the Leger 20-meter run, also known as the beep test, which everybody else kind of knows it as. And then finally just power, upper body and lower body power. So vertical jump using the Vertec vein system, and upper body power with a medicine ball put. So yeah, it'll be exciting. Athletes are going to run through every single test, and once the results are gotten, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. And then what will even be more interesting is when we test them at the end of season. Like testing any set of athletes or any individual athletes once is great, but testing them at the beginning of season and end of season is really cool, because then you can kind of see the differences that have come about it, and even how that relates to their performance.
What I think is really going to be neat is once you have all this data, you can even have someone who walks up to you who's not trying out for the BC team. They could be at any age level, normally above 12 years old, but up into adult ages, and they could say, okay, I want to get fit. I like karate. I'm doing it recreationally, but where do I actually land? Where do I fall?
Sure.
I'm 25 years old. I'm 45 years old. How do I actually compare? And then you can say, well, we've got this data. Here's how you compare to someone in your age group on the BC team.
Yes.
And give them something to work towards.
Yeah.
And after we start testing the team, after 2 or 3 years, obviously the athletes, they're going to be more aware of how to train, and we'll have to teach them obviously how to train, and the club instructors will get better at understanding it. So the results will get better. But I think that's the neat part. Someone could walk in and go, I'm 35, I want to get fit, I'm really enjoying karate, but I want to train for fitness. Where do I compare?
Yeah. That was really one of our goals of doing this whole thing, was just establishing some normative data for karate athletes, because like we've kind of mentioned before, there's really nothing out there in the literature for karate athletes specifically. So that's something that we really wanted to establish.
Because do you know the really best way to know if you're improving in your kata? The instructor goes, that's better.
I guess that's the only way to know. Yeah.
Okay, you're working really hard. And the instructor goes, yeah, well, I love the effort.
Yes, it's good. But, keep trying.
Keep trying.
Or maybe we should just do kumite now.
That's right. That's amazing kata. So anyway, in our style.
Yeah. No kidding. So yeah, that's happening this weekend. And yeah, I've just been getting ready for that. And it's great.
Awesome. Well, this is going to match to our Ki outs.
Yes.
Someone who I think is listening to us. Hey, Rodney Hobson out there in Kelowna, British Columbia. We're coming to your dojo on Sunday, October 2nd.
Sunday.
Be there for the interior athletes, because that's where we're doing our second karate testing.
Yes. Yeah. So Saturday in Vancouver, and then Sunday we're heading up to Kelowna. So Rodney, we'll see you Sunday. Thanks for listening, and thanks also for writing in.
Absolutely. And we're going to be talking about some of the stuff that Rodney's asked us in the next episode, because we got to do our research.
Of course.
We're heavily researched. We got a big research crew here.
Yes,
a staff of many.
Yeah, researchers and analyzers and all that.
Yeah. Analyzers contact all our amazing karate contacts in the world.
Yeah. So, but maybe you can speak a little bit about what Rodney does up there in his club.
Yeah, Rodney's got a really great model. He's got 4 martial art businesses. One is the Karate Club, which is how he started. Second is the after-school program.
Right.
And so picking kids up from local schools in vans, bringing them in, giving time to have their snack, have some refreshments, being a sport academy, and then getting them on the floor and training 5 days a week. He also represents the SMAI karate manufacturer brand for North America.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
As you know, they're one of the approved brands by the WKF, and so I believe that stuff is made in like Australia.
Okay.
And so it's all shipped to him in big containers from there, and then goes out. He sends it all out to all the reps around North America, and then he also has an apparel business.
Right.
So in the club, he's also got another area where he's got all the machines for doing silk screening and embroidery.
I've seen his work, and it's just like he does great work. It's really great.
Yeah, it's really good. I get my uniforms from him, and we've actually gone through quite a few different suppliers and getting like the heat presses on the jackets and stuff. And some of those heat presses just peel off.
Yeah.
Or the jackets are too short, So we've gone through some of that. So Rodney, looking forward to coming up there and spending some time, and we'll see if we can do some interviewing or something like that.
Maybe at some point we could get a Karate 360 gi.
Or
a patch.
Hey,
Rodney, hey?
Patch, t-shirt, gi. Big flag across the back.
Great. Perfect. I love it. Anyways, Rodney, thanks, and we'll see you soon.
Absolutely.
Okay, so just kind of moving on to talk a little bit more about karate around the world. We're talking about Karate Global News.
News. In Japanese, news.
News.
Yes. Oh, I should say something. Hey, everybody over there in Japan. Konnichiwa. これから episode 3ですね。ケイレン先生と僕がもうこれから本当に頑張っています。
360. That's all I got. So hello. And what we want to talk about now is just a little bit about the tournaments that have kind of happened over the last couple weekends. So
big tournaments.
Yeah. Big
world level
WKF tournaments. So today is September 29th. This will be available on Monday, which I guess is October 3rd. So just things that have already gone on. There's been 2 big international tournaments that have already happened to this point. On September 17th to 18th was the Karate 1 Premier League in Fortaleza, Brazil. And then just this past weekend, same thing, Karate 1 Premier League in Hamburg, Germany. So 2 big WKF sanctioned tournaments in that one. And just talking a little bit about kind of the results and what happened in those. So Fortaleza, Brazil, maybe as you'd expect, Brazil kind of owned the podium in that one for sure. They just kind of swept the board almost for the most part. Chile and Slovakia kind of filling in there. And then at the Hamburg tournament, it was definitely more across the board. And I think there was probably more athletes and more countries represented in the Hamburg one as well. But we wanted to highlight a specific athlete that we know has been training hard and that actually won gold in his division, minus 60 kilograms. We're talking about Douglas Brose.
Hey,
he's famous.
He is famous.
Yeah, you've probably seen him on Instagram or Twitter or whatever. But yeah, Douglas Brose, minus 60 kilogram. Kumite athlete, gold in both the tournaments in Fortaleza and as well as in Hamburg. And he's getting ready for the World Championships, which are just coming up here next month or later this month if you were listening to this on October 3rd. At the end of October is the World Championships. And Douglas Brose, just from what I've been able to see through his Instagram and that kind of stuff, I follow him, and he's really dedicated. He really wants to do well. He hasn't won gold in the World Championships since 2014, so it's been a couple years for him. But what's interesting about Douglas is he won his first international WKF medal when he was just 16 years old in 2008. Actually, he was a bronze medal in the World Senior Karate Championships.
And that was 2008.
2008.
That was in Tokyo. I was.
That's right. Yeah.
I was translating from between the WKF. Event managers and the JKF, minute by minute movers and shakers to get the tournament going.
Sure.
Yeah. I may have seen him compete, but it was tough when I was lucky. I got to be right beside the ring, the whole time.
Yeah.
But that would have been, a time that he was there. I think that's last for a famous Canadian athlete, Saeed. That was the last time he
Saeed
competed.
Bagbani. Yeah,
That's right. He won a bronze medal then.
Right.
So I remember seeing him there.
Not to kind of overshadow Douglas Bros here, but I remember when Saeed used to compete in the Canadian Nationals, everybody would go and watch. Like, oh, Saeed's up. Here we go.
Yes,
everybody,
yes.
he was just kind of the guy to watch for Kumite for sure.
Actually, that's the first time in person I saw Agiev fight.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
he was amazing.
Rafael Agiev.
Rafael Agiev. And then I saw in the Hamburg results that he took third.
He did take third. Yeah.
And there was a Japanese athlete that took first. And Tom Scott was in that same division. So Tom Scott also took third.
Yep, that's right. Now, so you saw Agiev in Japan in 2008.
That's right.
So he also would have been, I think he's maybe a couple years older than Douglas Pro, so he might have been 18 or whatever at that point.
He looked 35 with the beard.
Of course he does, yeah. It probably looks exactly the same. So when you saw him, was there hype around him already then? Did you know he was going to be big?
Yeah, like people are always saying, like, watch him.
Yeah.
And Adekawa Sensei also volunteered at the 2008 championships, but he was stuck in the warm-up room the whole time. So he didn't see any live action, but he did, because he's such a friendly guy, he was introducing himself to everybody in there.
Sure, yeah, of course.
And he was watching Agiev and everybody warm up. And then somebody videotaped Agiev warming up there, and they put it on YouTube. And I've used that warm up so many times.
Oh, yeah, really?
Yeah, where his coach was swinging his arm, and arm was straight out and swinging it back and forth in a 180 direction. And Agiev would be diving in and out, trying to pick him off while he was wearing some sort of like crazy mesh toque over his hair.
Wow.
There's a lot of footage from that on YouTube with Agiev fighting. And you can tell it's a 2008 WKF World Championships because the Budokan, which is on the cover of my book, they put these white drapes and wrapped it all around the bottom. And what they were doing is they're trying to hide all the wires of the TV cameras and the walls and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, that was quite impressive. But I might have seen Douglas Bros, but I don't remember him then.
Sure,
So.
probably wasn't as much hype around him. Maybe back then when he was 16, just kind of coming up. But of course now he's got some hype around him. That's for sure.
Absolutely. He has the training videos that come up, when they pop up on Facebook and stuff. It's pretty incredible, especially his speed and his control.
Yes.
He'll be training with like a female athlete and flying and just stopping within like, a millimeter of the other person,
Sure.
which is what you need. You need to have that type of control when you're training. So
what's kind of interesting is that you look at these official results from the WKF for both these tournaments, and you kind of go down and you say, okay, these people are from Brazil, these people are from, Chile, Venezuela, whatever, wherever they're from. And then you get to Douglas Bros and it says #Bros Team.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's the name of maybe his club or something. But
okay.
yeah, it's just kind of interesting that he's the only one there that's got that, and it's a #, Bros Team.
What are the results for Canada and the United States in the two events?
Actually, one thing that I did see was that the only Canadian that was even in the top 10 was Daniel Gajzinski, actually. In the plus 84 kilogram, he got 7th. And so that was great for him. He was the only Canadian to get the top 10 in there. Tom Scott is on there. He got 3rd in minus 75 kilograms. Kumite.
We're thinking about bringing Tom Scott here.
Oh, yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, he's been over in Vancouver now, and we're talking with the Vancouver organizers, and I've been talking to his instructor.
Okay.
So
I actually stand corrected. There was one other American female minus 68 kilogram, Cheryl Murphy, got a silver in the minus 68 kilogram female kumite as well. So
who was the Japanese athlete that won the minus 70?
There was also a Japanese individual who won the minus. So there's minus 84 and a minus 75. So minus 75, it was Ken Nishimura.
Nishimura, yeah.
Won gold. And then in the minus 84 kilogram, I apologize if I get this wrong, but it is Ryutaro Araga.
Araga is really famous.
Okay.
Yeah, Araga is super famous. Yeah, we talked about him in an episode before where he banged heads with somebody and stuff.
Yes,
Araga is really famous. He's really, really fast. And with Matsuhisa kind of retiring now, Araga's kind of like the next big Japanese kumite athlete. Well, this is, those two events plus the K1 in Okinawa that's coming up soon are the last ones before the WKF 2016 World Championships.
Yes, and by the time this episode comes out on Monday, the Okinawa Japan Karate 1 tournament will be over, because that's happening this weekend as well, first and second. So we can definitely talk about that next
We
week.
should be on a plane.
Yeah.
Oh wait, we have to do fitness testing.
Yeah. So that's happening this weekend, first and second, and then the World Championships in Austria, 25th to the 30th of October.
That's incredible. Well, we do know of people who are going to the WKF Championships. 2018, we'll be there.
Yep.
So we'll get them to do some interviewing, and we'll chat with them when they come back.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah. So let's just move on. We're going to talk a little bit here, moving on to the Olympics. So we talk about the 5 rings, just a little bit about what comes up there, and something that kind of intrigued me a little bit. So we know that karate was obviously accepted into the Olympics.
Yay! Jing, 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 jing.
For the 2020 Olympics. But one thing that was that I was wondering, I was like, okay, we know that the athletes are going to be there, but what about the Paralympics as well? Is karate been accepted into the Paralympics as well, or is this just the Olympic Games so far?
They're still talking.
Okay.
The WKF President Espinosa and the Secretary General Nagoro Sensei were down at the Rio Paralympic Games.
Okay.
And then there was a news article that came out they're investigating. Now, Japan is the perfect place to do a Paralympic karate tournament because for, almost 12 or 13 years now, they've had what's called the Shogaisha Taikai, which means the disabled person's tournament.
Okay, yes.
They were holding it for a while in Japan around the end of September, beginning of October. They started the Shogaisha tournament, the disabled tournament, the same time they started the Masters, which is for women 35 and over and for men 40 and over.
Sure.
And I used to compete in the Masters divisions just in the last few years I was there. And actually Nagoro Sensei, who's the WKF Secretary General, also competed in the Masters divisions. Higher up in age bracket. I think he was in the 60 to 65 or 65 to 70. And amazing kata and kumite, So they started both around the same time and has become really popular. They have lots of different divisions, what type of disability that you have.
Sure, yeah.
There was a graduate from my high school. He graduated a few years before I started teaching there, Shinsuke. And his right arm is slightly shorter, but he has amazing kata and amazing kumite. Actually, when he's doing kata, you forget that he has a disability. He's so sharp.
Wow.
And he has won just regular tournaments for his kata and done well for kumite and stuff.
That's great.
And so he won, I think, 4 years in a row. He won the men's standing disability division in Japan. So they have an infrastructure. They have an awareness.
Okay.
A lot of it was building awareness. I think with the idea that, they need to broaden what people can do in karate.
Sure.
I do know that Shinsuke at the Kitaku Taikai, the North Tokyo tournament. Remember how I told you I belonged to all these different karate organizations in Japan? So North Tokyo tournament. So he competes in kata, and he definitely is the best in the final round, but they give the flags go the other direction. And so we're kind of like, why did the flags go the other direction? We go up and ask one of the head referees, and they go, well, he's disabled, so we can't give it to him. Which was shocking.
No kidding.
The directors at the school, because when you graduate in Japan, you keep a good Normally, you keep a good connection with your school, especially if you're in a sports program out of it.
Okay. So
yeah, they were really shocked. So even in Japan, for there to be discrimination against someone who's disabled, there's a lot of things in Japanese society which are behind ours. So, but in terms of having a karate tournament at a national level, there's some awareness. So there's the ability to have it.
Okay. Yeah.
For AWOD athletes.
Is this like a separate proposal then that's being put forth?
Yeah, it would have to be in the Paralympic Games.
Yes, of course.
I didn't read the latest version of the bid when they were refining it when it came down to just putting all 5 sports in.
Right.
But I would think that having a Paralympic option was in there, and that's what I read in the news.
Okay. Yes.
So, and it's something that even at the Karate Canada level and the U.S. Karate Federation level, they're trying to develop some systems where AWOD athletes can have more opportunities and be more appreciated.
Yeah. Now, so I'm assuming that the Paralympic committee is separate than the actual Olympic committee. Yes.
Well, there would be a Paralympic organizing committee within the IOC.
Yes. Okay.
Also, the Tokyo organizing committee has a Paralympic organizing committee. The way it's been described to me at these big multi-event sporting festivals is it's like the city and the organizing committee, they're like the host. They rent all the locations,
Sure.
and then they bring in the sport organizations, and they're the DJs. And so there's the karate DJs running their karate show, and there's the athletics running the 100 meters and the shot pick show.
Yeah.
But overall, you have these hosts who put all the venues together, and then in terms of getting the athletes, the hosts will run all the registration systems, but again, the DJs will run all the qualification stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, for sure, they're going to be doing something. I mean, let's think about Japan too. 1 in 4 people in Japan are over 65 years old.
Wow. 25%.
Yep. In like 10 or 15 or 20 years, it's going to be 1 in 3.
Wow.
So Japan is a welfare state, like most first world nations. And so in a welfare state, all the people who are working in society, their taxes are going, in a large part, going to the people who are retired.
Sure.
Right? And all, their healthcare and medical and pensions and that sort of thing. And, but when you're down to like 1 in 4 is over 65, and, soon 1 in 3, it's a massive pressure on that state.
Yeah.
So Japan is sitting at like 131 million people. So there's a really good chance it could drop in the next few years down to like 70 within the next 50 or 60 years. So they have to make the country more accessible for everybody.
Sure.
And where the pressure is coming from is all these people are getting older and they need to still be able to move around, and people are living longer.
Yeah.
So you have to recognize it. So that was one of the purpose of having the Masters Games. You have all these people who are getting older and they still want to be vibrant, and you have these people who have disabilities, and there's more of them, and they have to be vibrant too. So
sure. So is there any news on maybe when the next step in the Paralympic, bid is, or what the kind of what the date is? I remember when karate was being announced for the Olympics, for the IOC, there was kind of those set dates, like, okay, this date is when they're going to do the announcement, or this is when they're looking at it, this is when they're going to announce it, blah, blah. Is there anything like that for the Paralympics as well, or no?
I'm sure that in the bid, they describe what's going to happen in the Paralympic Games. It's got to be part of the whole overall bid.
Sure.
Really, now what it's about is in June 2017, when the IOC has their big meeting, and they talk about 2024.
Yes.
And which sports will be in and out. And the Olympic Charter says that all sports can be pulled if they don't meet what the charter is saying. And
yes.
So that's karate's big chance, and that's what they're really working on now is 2024.
Sure. Well, I guess probably even next 2017 to make that proposal go through.
That's right. 2017 will be the big one. So now we're through the door. We'll see what happens next.
Sure. On that note, so we know when karate got brought in, this one, it was in conjunction with 4 other sports. So there was 5 sports total. So next year, when it gets considered for the 2024, like now they call it, I think, a demo. I don't think they call it a demo sport anymore, but whatever they call it. So karate's in for that, but it's not officially in for the 2024. Is they going to be considered as a group with those other 4 sports as well, or are they going to be looked at specifically?
The criteria hasn't been announced.
Okay.
It'll be announced when they go into 2017.
Sure.
Some people, like reporters who follow the IOC really closely, sometimes they can't even understand how they get to a decision.
Yes. Yeah.
And some people, it's more clear. Like right now, there's 90 voting members and 37 sort of retired honorary members, and then a few side members. There used to be more. I think it was over 105 or 115 as permanent members. So, yeah, my sense is in 2024, every sport is up for a review.
Okay.
So it's all going to be done on a singular basis.
Like every sport that was part of the package.
Every sport, all 28 summer sports.
All 28 sports. Okay.
All 28 summer sports are up, plus these 5. And so we'll see if some get pulled in or pulled out.
Yes.
And, they've always said, like, will pentathlon go? Because all the main sports of pentathlon are all individual sports now.
Yes.
Will trampoline go, or will, things that are declining in popularity. Some people think equestrian shouldn't be in there because it's the horse doing all the work.
Fair argument, I think.
Yeah. But there's tradition.
Yes.
So, so it's going to be interesting what happens. And actually, it's not that far off now, right? So we are 10 months away.
Yeah, and I know we talked a little bit about the IOC having the Olympics having a cap for the amount of athletes that they can choose. So, I mean, obviously we don't know it, but in your opinion, do you think, is it going to be a case where they're going to put one sport in and take another one out, or how do you think they're going to balance that?
That could happen at 10,500 athletes for 28 sports. Really, we have to look at how did Rio go, regardless of the organization and structural pressures and political pressures and lack of funding and, hotel rooms that weren't working totally right, or regardless of all that, they have to look at how 2016 Summer Games went for each sport, and how they keyed in. I think it was one of the first times in history, in modern history, where you could watch almost every sport online streaming. And was it NBC still has like a database where you can go and check on. So the sort of the debrief, the report from that is something we should look at.
Sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
To see which sports are really popular. Obviously, if you're the DJ and this is your sport, you're going to try and buzz up.
Of course, you will.
The importance of it as much as you can.
Create some hype. Yeah, absolutely.
As much as you can. The thing is, we have to remember with karate is we are a really global sport.
Yes.
Anybody can do this sport.
Yes.
It's easier to do karate than it is to do kendo or judo or now taekwondo, because at the elite level they're using electronic sensors.
That's
on
right.
The feet. And so when you're in a global sport, that means that you're competing with everybody else. That's why when you look at countries that do really well and at the WKF level, a lot of those countries are post-conflict countries.
Sure.
Egypt, Turkey. These are countries that have had conflict. And so there's when you're living in those countries, not saying that athletes now have to know how to fight to survive, to walk from their house to work to the dojo, but they have a culture of fighting.
Sure.
Japan is still a post-conflict country,
yes.
Even 7 years after the war. Whereas like Canada and in some ways the United States, we are like an infrastructure sports.
Yes.
Yes. When you think of ice hockey, they're only competing with like 6 or 8 real countries compete in ice hockey, or same with baseball.
Yes. The ones that can afford it.
That's right.
For the most part, yeah.
That's right. So an infrastructure sport is spend a lot of money on infrastructure. Ice arenas and basketball gyms are expensive.
Yeah.
Whereas, like boxing is the other, really global sport. When you're boxing against everybody.
Yes.
When you're playing ice hockey against 6 or 8 really other countries.
Sure.
So we'll see what happens. The IOC is a Eurocentric sport. Almost all the sports except for karate, taekwondo, judo, and surfing.
Mm.
Surfing is Hawaiian.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah?
Of course, yeah.
So except for those sports now that are they're all have European roots in history, and tradition in the IOC is important.
Next year, they also announce where the 2024 Olympics are going to be hosted.
That's right.
And I know there's 3, maybe 4 places that are in the running. Is that correct?
That's right. I know of LA and Paris. I've been talking about it.
Yes.
LA would be, now what's that? 30 years since 1984? No, more. 1984 was when they had the, it's 30 years, right? LA 1984 was the Summer Games.
Okay.
So this would be 2024.
Right.
So it'd be 40 years.
Yes, 40 years since then. Yeah.
So that'll be a really interesting time, because I remember the LA Games. That's when I would, because 1980 was in Moscow.
Okay.
So that was when the Western countries boycotted it.
Sure.
And 1976 was in Montreal. So 84 is really clear memory for me, and the broadcasting and all that stuff that happened. So there's that kind of buzz, like the anniversary episode.
Sure. And
then of course, Paris, with the troubles that it's had with terrorism stuff, it could have the Japan bump. Like Japan got a bump, Tokyo got a bump from the earthquake.
Okay.
And the tsunami and stuff. So that's such a really fascinating world to watch what's going on. In my studies, I've read a lot and on Twitter, actually, some really great IOC reporters who've been reporting for like 40, 50 years on them have just great comments. So I'll dig those up and we'll share them, and also see what they've been saying about the Paralympic stuff as we go forward, because there's going to be a lot of speculation going into 2017.
Sure. No, that makes sense. Kind of on that note too, just kind of talking a little bit about Japan in general and Japanland, talking a little bit about the kind of main sports in Japan and kind of where karate lies in that. So I know, if I think of Japanese sports or sports that are predominantly popular in Japan. Of course, karate is up there too. Judo, maybe
Ninjutsu.
sumo, ninjutsu. Never would have thought.
I'm just kidding.
Baseball, of course, baseball is up there. So what I'm kind of wondering is, where does karate lie in Japan, in the culture? Where does karate lie in terms of the main sports in Japan?
Well, it's a really good question. Why don't we start with the process of elimination?
Sure.
Let's start with ninjutsu,
Okay.
right?
Eliminated.
Let's eliminate it.
Okay.
Okay? Well, first, when you think of a ninja, what do you think of?
Guys in black suits where you can just barely see their eyes and they sneak up on you with swords.
That's right. Well, in Japan, if you say, I want to be a ninja, it's like saying, I want to be James Bond.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Because they're
sounds about
spies, right?
Yeah.
I've had, when I was in Japan and helping out with the international program at the school, we would have students arrive and literally say like, oh, Richard Sensei, I'm so glad I'm in Japan. I really want to study ninjutsu. You know, I'm like, really? Like Koga ninjutsu? Yeah, Koga ninjutsu. Yeah, like, you know, invisibility? Yeah. Walk on water? Yes. Throw the poison thrown? Yes. Okay, you're basically saying to somebody, first, don't ever tell your homestay parent that. And you're basically saying that you want to be James Bond.
Yes.
Okay, so ninjutsu is really not that popular.
Sure.
Um,
Surprise.
yes. Learning with swords, yes, all that stuff like kendo and stuff. So let's go from the top. It's a battle whether baseball or soccer is more popular.
Yeah. Baseball or soccer?
Or soccer.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
football.
Football.
Yes. Yeah. Baseball has its own word in Japanese, yakyu.
Yakyu?
Yakyu.
Okay.
So 1868, Japan became a modern country.
Sure.
The United States forced it open. Samurai was busted. Samurai system was busted. And within the next couple decades, they imported baseball and gave it its own name. And became very popular.
Yes. No, I knew baseball was popular for sure. Being a baseball fan and watching the World Baseball Classic, that's happened just twice. It happens every 4 years. It's like the World Championships of baseball type thing. And this only happened twice, and Japan's won it both. And and both times the MVP of the tournament was from Japan. So I knew it was important. Did you know that the Japanese baseball that they use is actually a little bit smaller than regular baseball? Not the regular one, but the American baseball.
Slightly smaller, and the high school ones have a bit of more of a bounce to it.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
a little bit different, but yeah. So I knew baseball was popular, but you'd say it's that or soccer.
That's right. There's a very famous writer in Japan, American writer named Robert Whiting, and he's written some just awesome books about Japan. One is called "You've Got to Have Wa." Now, wa means like harmony, the way.
Okay.
In our karate style, wadokai, wa means, they think it means peace, but wa means Japanese.
Okay.
Japan, right?
Yeah.
And wa also means like the way. You've got to have the way. So you read that book, You've Got to Have wa, and you can replace every word for baseball with karate and go, wow, this is almost like exactly what I'm going through, because they're really militant about how they train. You can't spit on the field. If you're elementary, middle school, high school, you shave your head. They march.
Wow.
They march. They really take it seriously. They broadcast high school baseball on TV. There's a place called the Koshien, which is it's in Osaka, and it's a famous professional baseball stadium for the Hanshin Tigers.
Okay.
Hanshin Tigers are a professional team. They're like, I don't know. I might, if I get this wrong, don't beat me up. Like Red Sox or something like that. Like their rival team is like the Tokyo Giants, which would be like the New York Giants.
New York Yankees.
Yankees.
Yeah.
Okay, so that kind of idea, like a rivalry.
Yeah, no, I've actually heard of those Japanese teams.
Okay,
There's been certain players that have come from them.
Got it. So Koshien is like, everybody wants to be the high school team that wins their city, gets to go to Koshien and play. And if you win at Koshien, like, you have an amazing professional contract waiting at the end of it. But it's so hard to win. Also, I've gone there to watch because our school team made it 1 year. It happens in spring and summer. The summer is the more popular one. They won the spring one. Summer one. It's so hot. Like, we're talking 40 degrees at like 90% humidity.
Jeez.
I was wearing like half a suit and like suit pants and a shirt. It was just too hot. And so those kids will, crash of exhaustion. But when they lose, they scoop up some dirt from the field. They all have little baggies in their pocket because, of course, a team loses every round, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they put it in, they bow to everybody. And so, yeah, it's amazing. So there's baseball, soccer. It's become really popular, especially in 1994. They started a professional league called J League. And actually, I worked for the gentleman because he owned the private school I worked at. He and another gentleman started J League. And it's now really popular. And it's got that sense of like a global, we're part of the first world global sport.
Sure.
They train a lot. I remember one thing they used to say is that everybody had to touch the ball before someone shot it at the goal.
Like elementary school
Yeah.
kind of rules.
But
yeah.
now Japan may be at the very top or within the top 3 of the rankings in Asia. Like
Wow.
they'll play Australia and beat them all the time.
Wow.
Yeah. And Australia, or those teams were known for like really long passes, long shots.
Great.
And Japanese team was known for skill. So those 2 sports at the top. Basketball's popular as well.
Wow.
So I would say like in just pure like sport / Budo participation, karate's got to be, I'm going to say 12th.
Wow.
I'm going with 12th.
That low, eh? I would have expected a little bit higher. In terms of the martial arts.
In terms of martial arts, it's 1 or 2.
With judo.
With judo.
Yes.
Yeah. So judo, karate, and probably karate more now than
Okay,
judo. So
sure.
karate, then judo, then maybe kendo. There's jodo, which is just learning how to use a 4-foot staff.
Okay.
Right. And in the martial arts world, there's the Gendai martial arts, which is the modern martial arts.
Sure.
That's karate, judo, aikido, sumo, naginata, shorinji kempo. I know I'm missing a few here. Kyudo, which is archery. Yeah, and there's 1 or 2 other ones.
So karate is even more popular than sumo.
Oh yeah,
Oh, really?
sumo.
Wow.
Sumo is a dying sport in Japan.
Oh, okay.
There's a professional league. It's the only professional league in the world is in Japan. It's Japan's national sport. There's no women professional players. If you're a big farm boy and you've been fed really well and you're huge, you might be pushed towards sumo. But a lot of people don't want to do it. It's dirty, it's dangerous, it's dark. It's, you got to get up early in the morning. I've watched them go train. They train really, really hard. They call it a stable. Like they train in a very small circular training hall, like not even the size of a 10 by 10 meter, like what we have in karate. It's much smaller and it's dirt. And they're just doing squats. They're eating like 10,000 calories a day.
Of
The
course.
younger ones, train first. So a lot of people don't want to do it. So when you look at the professional ranks, there's a lot of foreigners like from Mongolia and Hawaii and even Eastern Europe. There's actually there's a boy here from Victoria who's in Japan right now. He's like 6'8" or something like that.
Wow.
And so he's training over there, and I haven't followed up with him recently, but I thought that was quite interesting. So yeah, but sumo is not as popular as you would think. Yeah. And we should get into sumo on another day. It's got some amazing similarities to karate, and it's also got some a lot more color than people expect in terms of how it's organized and stuff.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but other popular sports in Japan are like obviously ping pong is really popular.
Yes.
Volleyball is really popular.
Really?
For girls, cheerleading is really huge.
Oh, really?
Cheerleading
Okay.
is huge.
I think I can see that.
Yeah, cheerleading's big. Almost every sport is really big. And what's really interesting in Japan is they have what's called the Inter-High, which they have it in the first 2 weeks of August, and all the main sports, and there's like 50 or 60 of them, invade one of the 47 prefectures of Japan.
Okay.
And so if you win your city's championship for that sport, you all go there. And I've my team has won, and we've gone there a couple times, and it's amazing because it's a really festive atmosphere. A lot of the sports are broadcast on TV. So any sport that you can think of, they're playing it in Japan. Lacrosse, they're playing it in Japan.
Oh, wow.
Indoor soccer called futsal, they're playing that like crazy. Actually, that's a really fun game because it's a really short course.
Yes, yeah,
You
very
know?
fast. Yeah.
Very, very fast.
Yeah.
But in terms of karate, it's up there. It used to be the bad boy sport, and now it has refined itself, and so I wouldn't put it in that area. Actually, what has replaced karate as the bad boy sport is MMA training.
Makes sense.
There's much more in terms of the colorful characters and the tattoos and
Yes.
and not to take away from the fact that they do some amazing training.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
there's an famous MMA fighter, Inoue, who has his pure breed MMA club, which was like a 10-minute drive from my house.
Okay.
And so he's got kids in there, and they're doing gymnastics and training and wrestling, and they're really fit. They're doing plyometrics. They're climbing ropes to the ceiling. But that would be a little bit, if their parents are into watching MMA, then they might put their kids in that.
Okay.
But karate is still huge. It's huge.
What I find kind of interesting is that, okay, in Japan, karate is considered the bad boy sport.
Used to be.
Okay,
Yep.
used to be. But even now, I mean, ever since I was young, karate in North America, or at least in Canada, has always been kind of considered the nerd sport, sort of. Like you see, Karate by Jesse, he does the karate nerd experience.
That's
or
right,
something
that's
like
right.
that. So it's just kind of interesting, the contrast there between Japan.
Yeah, if you say, I'm in karate, they go like, karate, hiya.
Yes,
like,
yes, yeah.
But if you said, I'm in boxing, they'd be like, maybe I shouldn't put my dukes up.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. It's the nerd or the left wing, or I'm kind of hippie sport,
yes.
which is, once you get in the dojo, it's definitely not like that.
Totally, yeah.
But in Japan, it's the right wing activity.
Yeah.
It's very conservative.
Wow.
It's very right wing. I've been in karate clubs where like it's police and it's yakuza and they're training together. And in terms of low level, like, okay, we're gonna take this kid who doesn't know what he wants to do with his life, so we're gonna aim him towards the police,
Sure.
or whatever. But it is now, like, it's very similar to here. The parents are like, you got to put your kid in swimming, got to put your kid in a team sport, got to put your kid in karate for the self-defense and the discipline and stuff.
Yes.
Actually, a lot of people don't think about self-defense. They think of shitsuke. Shitsuke is character development.
Okay.
That means that's another relationship you take on when you have a martial arts instructor. And the most important thing they're supposed to do is teach you how to think.
Absolutely, yes.
And how to push yourself and how to be resilient, how to go through that success loop of like, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it.
Yes.
I want to quit. And the moment you want to quit, you got to keep trying to do a little bit more and become resilient.
Sure.
I remember when I was teaching in high school, Kakia sensei would tell, because we taught karate in the PE classes, Kakia sensei would tell everybody, like, you have to get up there and do your kata. And you have to be confident. Even if you're not confident, got to be confident, because you never know, in 2 or 3 years from now, you're going to be working at a part-time job, or you're going to be graduating from university, and you have to give a presentation to a client. Well, if you can stand up here and do kata in front of me and I can scowl at you, then you can give a presentation to a client in an office any day of the week.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Absolutely.
So kiai louder, open up your heart, don't hold back.
Yes.
So karate is quite interesting in that aspect.
Yeah. Great.
But you'll get to see it. We're going to go over there.
Yeah, can't wait.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. Okay, just kind of moving on to the next segment here. We want to talk a little bit about officials tips. So every week we want to bring you guys a little bit of an officials tip from the WKF rules. And this one, I'm going to hand it over to you, but it's something that I thought was really interesting and innovative. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your officials tip of the week?
Hey, Kalan just said I thought of something innovative.
Among many other things. But anyway, yes.
All right. Well, yeah, officials tips means what we're thinking up there are when you're thinking of being an official and applying the rules to competition, right? What I've been thinking of as the event promoter manager of the Canada Open is how we can maximize the number of officials that come, especially for the non-elite divisions.
Yes.
And make it as fair and as safe for the athletes as possible, but at the same time avoid them having to, and every tournament has had this happen to them where they ran out of officials, is have them to use the mirror system.
Yes, yeah.
So the mirror system, if you don't know, is when there's a center referee and then there's another center referee who's not doing the initial calls as their mirror, and then you have the athletes in the ring, and this is for when they're doing sparring, kumite, and as the athletes are running around, when there's a point, the center referee stops the match. They indicate with a motion which athlete they think got the point, and their mirror, the other referee directly across from them, signals with their hand if they agree or they don't agree.
Right.
If they agree, the athlete gets the point. If they don't agree, the center referee might not give a point. In the old days, they would actually have a conversation. Right. Actually, in the JKA national championships, JKA tournaments, they can still have a conversation. But if they can't, if one goes one way, one goes the other way, they can turn around, which is what they're supposed to do, and look at the arbitrator who's sitting beside the clock, and the arbitrator is a tiebreaker.
Sure. Yeah.
The only thing for me is the arbitrator is always seated directly behind the referee.
Yeah.
Right? And the arbitrator is normally the lowest ranked official. And a lot of times they're doing that arbitrating job that they've never done before.
Sure.
So they've got volunteers right at the table who are doing volunteering that they've maybe not done before, and they're asking questions. And there's a match area controller asking them a question. Or I remember watching a WKF referee having to unfortunately do the mirror system, and they were sitting as the arbitrator, and his wife kept coming over to talk to him because he had to look at the other ring. And he should be looking at that one. And I've seen, and I'm sure you've seen, like, sometimes the arbitrator sitting at the side, he's trying to pay attention, but he can't see around the center referee.
Yes,
I've seen them with donuts in their mouth.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you see it with referees too, even the ones that are on the mat. You see them looking over at the other mats and kind of looking when there's a kata performance going on right at their mat. It's like, what are you watching here?
And it's tough. Anybody who says, oh, that darn referee, I could do better, they should go do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why we tell our black belts, go and become at least the lowest, get the first step, the entry level step. I shouldn't say the lowest, so the entry level step of officiating in whatever province or state you're in. Yes. And in Japan it was the same thing. I just wanted to sit on the coach as a side and yell at people. And they were like, no, you have to learn how to referee. But the mirror system doesn't work because you've got two people running around who are adults in front of kids normally and looking at someone who really can't see. So I thought of a triangle, right? So the center referee is there, and then to the top right sitting down, there's one corner official, and the other top left sitting down is the other corner official. So when the center referee is on their line in the middle and the two athletes are facing each other, center referee can see both the corner seated officials. So then the athletes are fighting. The center referee sees a technique. They yell, "Yeah, mate!" They stop. Athletes stop. If the two corner officials go with blue, both their blue flags go out. The center referee awards blue. If it's red, they award red.
Yes.
If one goes red and one goes blue, then the center referee is a tiebreaker.
Yes, makes sense. Yeah.
Right? And in that way, you're never going to have the exact angle. I remember Namiki Sensei, he trains officials in Japan at the highest level for the JKF, said, you can only really see maybe 65%.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that's kind of a common term, 65% of what's going on. But I thought, that's a kind of a better system. Obviously, there's a way that the referee might get out of position farther, or the athletes might be further away on the mat. But when you're talking about non-elites, this is not elite. In the elite divisions, you've got officials in the four corners, you've got a center referee and an arbitrator, right? Yeah. So even with a triangle, you still need one more person to be the arbitrator, but not the tiebreaker.
Yes.
Anyway, we've already talked about it as the event host. You're renting the venue, you're collecting everything in, and you're bringing in people who are the DJs to run the system. Sure. You still have to work with them on what might be best.
Yeah, no, I really like the triangle system for sure. I mean, so many times with the mirror system, you said you sometimes have to have those conversations because there's not any universal way to speak to them, and you're kind of confused a little bit about what's going on there. Okay, well, I saw this point. Well, I saw this point on the other side, and it's like, okay, well, what do we do? Okay, let's talk about it. And it's time consuming, and just as a spectator, it's always like, well, there's got to be a better way to do it. And I think the triangle system is great for sure. You have all different angles covered, and then of course you have the two people that can pick the point. So yeah,
a long time ago they had referees on the sides or on the triangle, but the referee in the center, the seated officials on different sides, and they had the referee in the center. But the referee in the center was sort of locked into kind of their side of the four-sided matted ring. Sure. But now the center referee can walk 360 right outside the ring wherever they want to go. And if you have the center referee doing that with a triangle, that could be it. Sankake means triangle in Japanese.
There you go. Sankake. I like it.
Sankake system.
I certainly like it better than the mirror system.
Oh, yes. Yeah. When I started competing, it was the mirror system. And then when they said Yame, you didn't stop. They did the center referee would dive in and kill you apart. I still want to kill him. But wait a minute, we're not supposed to be killing them to begin with. Oh, yeah. I still want to kill him, Yeah. I remember, when it's like demonstration days at whatever recreation center or university club days or whatever, and we would put out a video, someone would bring their TV and put out a video, and it'd be show tournaments of what stuff was like.
Yes, yeah.
And I remember being, talking to everybody, and me, I'm just, social butterfly. I talk to everybody, and so they were watching this video and who's that brown belt guy? He's going crazy. They're pulling that brown belt guy off the other athlete when they say Yame, he's not stopping or whatever. I'm wow, it's so intense. I'm yeah. And the way they looked at me, looked at the video, looked at me, looked at the video. Wait a minute, that's you.
You were the brown belt.
I know. That was me when I had a mullet. And so they thought that was funny, And so that's how I remember the start of the officials. And then, sometimes those center referees, like they're working out as much as the athletes, and their shirts are popping out and
Yes.
and stuff. So, well, innovation.
Yeah.
How we can think how to do everything better, offer the better services both in the karate club and outside, and move forward.
Yeah.
Right on.
I like it.
Okay, next segment: karate training and
Academia. Yeah.
academia.
Okay. Yeah.
I think you got some two really interesting stuff going on here, and this is great because we're thinking so much about karate testing right now. So.
Yes, karate testing, and I think something that's really hot in my mind is always how to train better for karate, and of course also what's in the literature. So, one thing that I found, and again, not a lot of karate stuff in the literature in terms of scientific research, but there is.
What about Chuck?
Chuck?
Isn't Chuck Norris in lit?
I don't think Chuck Norris.
You know what happens
in
when
literature? I think
you know what happens when he gets into a push-up position, right? He doesn't push up. He pushes the earth down.
Right. See, I was going to say I don't think he's in the literature. I think he is the literature. That's a new one, isn't that? But just one study that I found on judo athletes, which kind of related to what I have been advocating for a while in karate training. So. This is just to give credit to Emerson Franchini. He's a researcher, I believe, out of Brazil, who's done a lot of work in judo and as well a little bit in taekwondo. So just kind of looking at one of his articles, physical fitness and anthropometric differences between elite and non-elite judo athletes, which is similar to kind of what we're doing with karate athletes, but. Just to highlight a couple things that he found, he found that judo athletes want to maximize their lean body mass and minimize their fat mass for their given weight category. Okay, that kind of makes sense. You want to make sure for them that you want to have good upper body power. Yes, okay. One thing that I found really interesting though, and that again I've been advocating, is that, and what he found is that the athletes that were more aerobically trained or had a better aerobic capacity performed better in repeated anaerobic bouts. So what does that mean? That basically means the more endurance trained you are, the better you are to be able to perform repeated bursts of output. So karate is very much an anaerobic sport, and you hear it a lot from coaches and people that train it. Karate's not an aerobic sport. Why do I have to train aerobically? It's all anaerobic. It's short bursts of output. That's what anaerobic is. Yes, that's true. But you need to have that aerobic base in order to maintain those anaerobic outputs. So what he found, and that's something that, like I said, I've been
English. Say it to me in plain English.
Yeah. Okay. Let me try it again. So karate is fast, and you need to also be able to go long.
Okay. A long time.
A long time, yes. So that's why you often see, boxing is very similar. Boxing short rounds, and they're all obviously mostly anaerobic as well, and they do short bursts, but boxers will run for 15 to 20 kilometers once or twice a week, and it's because you can recover better from those short bursts of activity. So again, it's very important to make sure you have it.
So what's happening in the muscle? Is it that there's more oxygen in the muscle that can carry away lactic acid, or
you just hit it. That's exactly it. It's well, among other things as well. I can get really scientific. It's called EPOC, excess post-oxygen consumption, and basically it's just after you do a short burst, there's a period of time where you're consuming oxygen. So the better you're able, and the more you're able to consume that oxygen, the more you're going to be able to maintain those high outputs.
The muscles are consuming oxygen from the blood?
No. You're going to be consuming the oxygen.
You're going to be breathing in harder.
You're consuming the oxygen.
Yes.
You are right in the lactic acid where you want that blood flow. The blood flow will shuttle that lactic acid out of the muscle. Here's a little bit thing for you too. Did you know that's actually not lactic acid that gives you the sore cramps and decreases your performance? Well, now we're going to really dive into it, but it's called pyruvate. So pyruvate is what happens. It's called the end product of glycolysis. So pyruvate is the substrate that happens after you've converted oxygen to energy, ATP. You get pyruvate. Pyruvate can turn into lactic acid, but lactic acid actually isn't the part that's bad. It's actually the hydrogen ions that's specifically bad, because it then drops the pH in your blood, and drops the pH in your muscles, which affects the performance.
When someone goes for a run, and I used to get this a lot, and my legs got super tingly itchy. Is that's what's happening, or in that case, what's happening? Like, it took me a long time to be able to actually go for like a hour jog. Like, I would go like 10 minutes, like, this is great. And then, my legs would get so sore. Itchy.
Yeah. That's more just muscle conditioning more than anything.
I just sucked at that point, right?
Well, I think at that point, I mean, everybody's got slow twitch muscle fibers and fast twitch muscle fibers. So when you're going for long runs, you're mostly using your slow twitch muscle fibers. And if your slow twitch muscle fibers are not conditioned to go half an hour, whatever it is that you're running, then you are going to get those kind of tingly feelings, almost sore feelings and that kind of thing. So among, other issues, everything in the body works together. So,
okay. So then this makes sense to me, because in Japan, it's so hot in the summertime that I had to do lots of running and aerobic training, so that they would say if you had a higher VO2 max, you could survive longer in a really hot environment.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah.
And so I did that a lot. So by the time, like last year for the World Cup in Japan, we had a ton of people come from overseas, and we're training these like unbelievably hot high school or elementary school gyms where there's no air conditioning. Like, we were taking people to the hospital every day.
Wow.
And there would be Peter Stoddard and I, hey, Peter Sensei. He and I would be like the last two people training on the floor sometimes,
Sure.
And what he was doing was like 6,000 meters on the rowing machine.
Okay. Yeah.
To get over there. And I was just used to doing like my 90-minute circuit of training over there. So, no, that makes a lot of sense.
No, yeah, just basically the more aerobically fit you are, the more efficient you are at using the oxygen.
So if someone's a recreational athlete, like a recreational karate practitioner, a karateka, and they're saying, okay, I go to the dojo 2 or 3 times a week, and I'm really starting to feel some pain around the end of the class, now their muscles aren't as conditioned, so they're getting used to it. Should they be going for a little bit of a long jog? Or?
Well, I mean, pain is such a broad term. I mean, it's hard to say. Certainly, I think that supplementing your karate training with some kind of endurance training is great. Whether it's running, swimming, rowing, biking, whatever it is, I think that's a great idea.
Hiring a strength trainer,
hiring a strength trainer to show you how to do that kind of stuff, certainly. But also supplementing with power training and that kind of stuff. I mean, there's all kinds of different trainings that you can do. But yeah, I definitely think, the skills of karate are absolutely the most important in karate performance, but so are your fitness levels.
So after reading this report that you saw on judo,
yes.
What are your predictions when we're going into the karate fitness testing? What can you extrapolate from there to what I know, like sometimes they say, you do a study, you're not supposed to expect something.
Sure.
But of course you are.
Yeah, no, we do. We give hypotheses on what we expect to happen. Just a few things that I've kind of put out there. I'm going to expect that at this point they're all kind of elite athletes, but the ones that perform better will probably have a better VO2 max, so they'll probably be more aerobically fit. I also think they'll probably have more lower body power, so we're measuring them in the vertical jump. I'm going to expect that the ones who perform well can actually probably jump a little bit higher than everybody just because they have more power, and that's going to be especially important for both kata and kumite athletes. And I would also expect, especially for kumite athletes, that the ones that perform best on the agility test, the T test, will also probably perform better as well.
What do you think would be surprising?
What do I think would be surprising?
Like for me, what would be surprising on the test would be someone who scores really low, but in competition they're doing really well. And maybe it's because they got really good timing, really good efficiency.
Sure, and that's certainly possible, and that's certainly something that could come through. I mean, one of the tests that we're doing, the balance test, is going to be important, but there's certain times in a karate match where you don't or in a kumite match where you don't really need balance for the most part. I mean, you could get away with just using your hands when you're on both your feet the whole time. So
whereas a kata athlete, balance is critical.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So I think we could find some surprises there.
With the balance one, are they jumping on the power board, or what? Like, how are we checking their balance?
No, they're hopping from. It's called the modified base test. You can look it up. It's an NSCA, National Strength and Conditioning Association test. And what you do is you hop from one spot to another. So there's 10 different markers. You hop from one marker to the next, and you have to hold that balancing on one foot. You have to hold it for 10 seconds, not putting your other foot down, not really moving your other foot, and then you have to hop to the next one. So basically, it's really good for kata athletes because it mimics that explosiveness and being able to hold it. So you have to explode, hold for 5 seconds, and then explode to the next one, hold for 5 seconds. And each marker is a meter apart.
Wow, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
That's the Yeah, that's going to be quite interesting to see how well they do.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
because at a provincial level, they normally think, and not just in British Columbia, but even in Japan, this level of athlete probably doesn't train enough.
I would agree.
Or train in there.
Yeah.
Not saying, hey guys, if you're listening to us, we're saying you're not training hard,
Mhm.
but there's always a level to go up to.
Sure.
Especially if they're new to the team.
Yes.
So seeing what their fitness level is at, and then how they compare to people who've actually medaled at a national or international level.
Yes. And again, that's one of the great things about this fitness testing is we'll be able to know all that.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. What I think is you've got all these different exercises which are they're used in a lot of other sports, but what it is, it's like it's like you've got all your ingredients, and the recipe of what you're putting together is how it's going to match what we need to see for karate.
Yes, and I mean, before we even did all these, we're not just picking these tests out of a hat. We actually
didn't.
No, we didn't. We didn't. We didn't. We actually did a task analysis of karate, and these are the physiological benefits. You can get more information just by looking at the manual. We can talk about it for days.
The manual.
Yeah, and looking at
Right
the fitness testing manual.
Well, it's going to be exciting next couple 72 hours.
Yes.
Because tomorrow we're going to Friday, then we're over to do the fitness testing. And I think at the same time, they're having the Karate Canada is having their annual summit.
That's right. Yeah, in Toronto. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Okinawan K1 is going to go on.
Yeah.
There's
a big weekend. Big karate weekend.
It's a big karate weekend.
Yeah.
And then, we're a month away from the World Championships. And we have to find out what the streaming is like, if we can get some information on streaming.
Yes.
We can watch it online. I want to broadcast it here in Kenzan Sports Karate and have everybody come in and pick some hours and we can watch, especially when our friends are from the different countries are out there competing. So
absolutely, yeah. So I mean, tune in next week to our Karate 360 where we'll talk about the tournaments that came up. We'll
that'll
talk
be
a little
episode
bit
4.
About, that'll be episode 4. Yeah,
A New Hope.
A new hope. Hope for something. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, fantastic. And let's give some final tournament news that's coming up. West Coast Open, October 16th in Washington State. You can go to their website. We have a great friend, Roy, up in Kamloops River, doing the Kamloops River Challenge, October 29th.
Yep.
Some great friends over in Burnaby doing the Sato Cup tournament November 12th at British Columbia Institute of Technology, BCIT Gym. And then the BC Open, December 10th at the Richmond Olympic Oval. That'll be one day only. Yeah, and that information should actually be up next week. And I'll start contacting clubs and letting them know, just to make sure they get the packages and they get ready to come out.
Sure.
That'll be really exciting.
Yeah, and then October 25th to 30th again is the World Championships in Austria. And then November 21st to 28th is the AKF Junior Cadet and U21 Championships in Indonesia.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's some really great stuff. Wow. Another episode down.
The Trilogy episode in the bank.
In the can. Well, everybody, thank you very much for listening to Karate San Rogumaru.
Thank you very much. Karate 360.
And make sure to check us out on our website at karate360.com.
Karate360podcast.com.
Thank you very much for the correction. And also Twitter.
Twitter, yep. Karate 360. Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And maybe next episode we'll talk a little bit about what happened to karate360.com and why we're karate360podcast.com.
Yeah, let's talk about that. And also tell us what tournaments, what stuff you've got coming up. There's a Pat McCarthy seminar that's going to be at the end of October. That's all sold out now. But what have you got going on in your world? Send it over our way. Could be anywhere. We'll include you in the end, and we appreciate you listening to this point. So, hey, Kalan, thanks a lot for another fantastic episode.
Richard, great as always. Thank you.
And we'll catch you next time here at Karate 360.
Thanks, guys. San Rokumaru.